Yo, what's good, everybody? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny Finesse. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we got another Jimmy Highroller video. Can you buy a championship? Now these days, you can't really buy a championship. Don't look like it. It don't look like it anymore.
Question: can you buy wins in the NBA? If a team spends enough money, will it inevitably lead them to a title? I asked these questions because a couple weeks ago, news broke that the Warriors had signed their up-and-coming star Jordan Poole to a 4-year extension worth $123 million.
Which is
and
fair.
then shortly after, it was announced that Andrew Wiggins also agreed to a 4-year extension with the Warriors for $109 million. Two 9-figure deals dished out on the same day by the same team.
That's a lot of bread.
But neither Poole or Wiggins are the highest paid players on the Warriors. That would be Stephen Curry, who's also the highest paid player in the entire NBA. And then Klay Thompson, and then Draymond Green, and then Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins.
That is dead crazy, though. That is dead crazy. So, are you telling me this is them buying?
These 5 players combined will make a mind-boggling $174 million in the 2023-2024 NBA season.
That's a lot.
For perspective, when the Warriors assembled arguably the greatest team ever in 2017, the entire team had a payroll of just $101 million. The Warriors are handing out more massive contracts than any other team in NBA history in order to retain their spot as the best team in the league. And so far, it's looking like a great investment. So, I'll ask again, can you buy a championship in the NBA? Well, there's really only one way to find out.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. Off your first LeBron James today.
You know what I'm saying? We get through that.
Back in 2010, LeBron James joined the Miami Heat as unanimously the best player on the planet. And in his first season with the team, he made $14.5 million from his NBA salary. At the time, this was a nice big contract for the league's premier superstar. But times have changed.
For sure, times have changed. Don't go too fast. I'm a little blind. Sheesh. Westbrook, 3rd highest player. John Wall, 2nd highest player. What? Goddamn. And it's crazy because some of these players don't even like deserve it for real. I'm just pressing pause randomly, see if I can find somebody. I mean, these are good bread. Jonathan Isaac don't even play.
102. There are 102 NBA players who will make more money this season than a prime LeBron James.
Let's be honest though. That was 10 years ago. You know how money inflated from those 10 years? Like, real talk. Like, money inflated. There was a dollar menu back then. There ain't no dollar menu no more.
James made
there ain't no
a
dollar
decade
menu
ago.
no more.
Part of this is due to inflation, but mainly this is due to the fact that the NBA simply generates far more revenue than it did back then.
Exactly,
but throughout NBA history, teams have been willing to pay an insane amount of money to have a chance at a championship. In Michael Jordan's last season with the Bulls, MJ was paid quite possibly the most amount of money relative to his peers in the history of sports. In the 1997-1998 NBA season, Michael Jordan made $33.14 million from his NBA salary. By himself, MJ made more money than the combined team salaries of 19 other NBA teams that season.
Shit, but he's
his
worth
contract
it,
was so massive
that
the league implemented a maximum salary rule the following season, which prevented teams from paying the equivalent of an entire roster's payroll to one single player. Even by today's standards, this is a giant 1-year salary. But if we adjust for inflation and total revenue driven by the league, Jordan's 1998 salary would be
an average bench player that just sits on the bench and gets garbage minutes gets $4 million, like an actual official contract player.
Equivalent of an NBA player making approximately $120 million this season, which makes the contracts of even the highest paid players today look like an absolute bargain. It's insane, I know, but it's true. The man was very valuable, and this massive contract would prove to be well worth the investment. The Bulls needed Michael, and they also knew that having him on their roster was the closest thing to a guaranteed championship. So they paid up and were rewarded for doing so. But in today's
Good
NBA,
bread.
a league that's crowded with talent, nine-figure
can't do that no
contracts
more.
being handed
See, even he says himself, crowded with talent. There wasn't a lot of
to
talent
players
back then.
coming off the bench. Is it possible to buy your way to a championship? If a team is willing to pay a hefty luxury tax and spend more than market value for the available talent, does that guarantee success? Well, first, let's look at the teams that actually won championships throughout the years and how much they spent on their roster.
How many?
Last season, the Warriors won the championship, and wouldn't you know it, they had the highest payroll in the entire NBA. In 2021, the Bucks won the
crazy.
championship, and they did not have the highest payroll in the entire NBA.
Still top 10,
In fact, among all teams that won a championship over the last 30 seasons.
But you got to understand, too, the Warriors is a high market team. They can pay that bread. They can pay that bread. Same as the Lakers, they can pay that bread. Same as the Celtics, they can pay that bread. Same as the Heat, they can pay that bread, bro. They can do that. Bulls, I don't know.
Only 5 championship teams had the largest payroll in the NBA. When looking at the numbers, there's actually almost no correlation to how much a team is willing to spend and whether they win the
But that's
championship
no.
or not.
The answer is
Sure,
no then.
teams with some of the cheapest rosters virtually never win, but teams that have some of the most expensive rosters also don't win the majority of the time either. And surprisingly, 8 of the last 30 championship teams had a total team salary that was
Then look at it back then. You haven't had that in like, damn, in like almost over 5 years. Like,
cheaper than the average team salary in the league at the time. The craziest example of this was back in 1995 when the Rockets won a championship despite having the 4th cheapest payroll in the entire league. Money can buy good players, but it can't prevent injuries, locker room issues, unforeseen circumstances, and it certainly cannot buy a championship.
pain. He said, damn. Yeah, I know. That's painful.
But what about wins? Does spending far more money than other teams equate to winning more games than other teams? Well, last season, the Lakers had a team payroll of $164 million, and they won just 33 games. That same season, the Grizzlies won 56 games and had a team payroll of just $117 million. The Lakers spent damn near $50 million more than the Grizzlies just to not even make the playoffs. But this is an
That's
extreme
tough.
example of team payrolls not quite converting to wins. So here's a graph of every NBA team last season with team payroll on the left and total wins on the right.
From like literally looking at this chart, all the top teams didn't do good.
And if you
Last
look
year.
closely, there's actually a subtle correlation between
Is this the Nuggets?
how much a team spends on their roster in a
Looks like it.
season and how many wins they pile up. These teams spent less money and won fewer games. These teams spent more money and won more games. But there's no exact science
So, damn, I didn't even peep this. I didn't even peep the Thunder.
here. For example, the Thunder spent about 45 cents on their roster last season and still won more games
About 45 cents. That's crazy.
than the Rockets, Pistons, and Magic. The Phoenix Suns spent a
Not the
little
Kings,
bit
though.
more than the league average on their roster last season, and they won by far the most games in the regular
Oh, that's the
season.
Suns.
But generally speaking, spending more money does in fact yield more wins for any given team. But far more often, it will not yield a championship. That, however, has not stopped teams from trying. Back in 2005, New York Knicks owner James Dolan went all in and spent a criminal $124 million on
That's
the
the
Knicks
Knicks, though.
roster that
Knicks be
season.
losing for no
the
reason,
salary
bro.
cap at the time was $46 million. So with a roster payroll that dwarfed the league's salary cap, Dolan paid the league a mind-numbing $62.3 million in luxury tax in hopes that his wealth would grant him basketball immortality. It did not.
It
The
didn't.
Knicks finished the season with just 23 wins and the worst record in the Eastern Conference. Money cannot buy you an NBA championship. But the goal isn't just to spend as much money as possible. The goal is to sign the best, most cohesive players money can buy to your roster, which in its very nature leads to spending more money. For this exact reason, the rookie contract is by far the most valuable deal in the NBA. Last
Gangster, you get 3 years to prove yourself. Gangster.
season, players like
Let me see.
Darius
Yeah.
Garland and Trae Young were all-star caliber talents for the small price equivalent to that of a bench warmer. Thanks to his rookie contract, Luka Doncic was named first-team All-NBA last season, while being the 126th highest-paid player in the NBA, right behind players like Al-Farouq Aminu, Rashawn Holmes, and Jeremy Lamb. In fact, here's a graph of how much every NBA player is paid relative to how much value they give their teams in terms of win shares. It's not perfect, but it does the job. Now, in a perfect world, every player would be paid exactly what they were worth, which, hypothetically, is this line right here. But of course, this is rarely the case. Jonas Valanciunas and Daniel Theis are examples of two players who get paid exactly what they're worth statistically. Their teams are literally and statistically getting what they paid for. Now, most NBA players fall right here. Role players, rookies, young unproven talent, guys like that. Over here are the players who are grossly underpaid, usually rookies stuck on their first contract waiting to cash in once it expires. Here's Trae Young, here's Luka Doncic, and here's Mikal Bridges. These are the contracts owners and GMs dream of. Overall, players below this line would be considered underpaid, and players above this line would be considered overpaid. Despite being the fourth highest paid player in the NBA last season, Russell Westbrook didn't offer much from a winning perspective, which resulted in him landing here. According to the numbers, and injured players aside, the most overpaid players in the league last season were Russell Westbrook, Kemba Walker, and Blake Griffin.
Damn. And everybody else was injured.
Their impact on winning is slightly above that of an average player, but they're all getting paid like they're superstars. But you would never say that Giannis Antetokounmpo is overpaid, and yet he's way up here. Same goes with Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and
you could never say they overpaid. They did too much, bro.
LeBron James.
That name itself is gonna bring you money. That name itself is going to bring you money in that stadium. It's going to fill it up.
Most above average NBA players would be considered overpaid relative to the rest of the league because you're either good enough for ownership to keep you around, which allows you to make demands regarding your contract, or you're just below average, making you completely replaceable, virtually making it impossible to negotiate a decent contract, and you'll just take whatever you can get. There's hardly any middle ground here, and the Warriors are a glaring example of this. Since after re-signing Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, the Warriors' Big Five land here. And this right here perfectly summarizes the financial aspect of the NBA. Kevin Durant did not contribute 3 times as much to the Nets last season as, let's say, DeJounte Murray did to the Spurs last season. And yet, KD made 3 times as much as Murray did. Because when a player reaches a certain level of excellence, there is no formula to how much they're worth. You don't bargain with these players, and you certainly do not let them walk and risk ruining your chances at a title. You simply pay them whatever they want, and you count your blessings. But according to the rules, the Warriors can only pay Steph so much. Thanks to Michael Jordan, his NBA salary has a very finite ceiling. But the rest of the money can go to every other player that helped them win a championship last season. Steph has reached a level in the NBA, and specifically within the Warriors franchise, where he can demand virtually any dollar amount, and it would be completely justifiable. Steph could ask the Warriors for $150 million.
So he basically took a pay cut so other people can get paid. That's what's up.
$1 million a year. And if it wasn't for the maximum salary rule, Joe Lacob would be so eager to get him his money, he wouldn't be able to pull out his checkbook fast enough. Similar to what the Bulls did with Michael Jordan in his last few seasons with the team, the Warriors are going all in with Curry. They know that as long as he's in his prime, they have a damn good shot at winning another title. They've got their hands on one of the greatest players of all time.
Is he still in his prime? I guess so.
And a supporting cast that complements his skill set better than anything they could have imagined. So if it means paying a young Jordan Poole one of the biggest contracts in the entire NBA, paying an aging Draymond Green more money than any other team would offer, and
all he does is just pass the ball,
paying Andrew Wiggins exactly what he asked for, it's all worth it. Is any player overpaid if they play a crucial role in winning a championship? It's tough to call anyone overpaid if they were a vital component to winning that banner that hangs in your rafters, and they give your team a legitimate opportunity to hang another one. Because of the maximum salary rule, Steph will never get paid truly what he's worth. But that doesn't mean the Warriors can't spend the money in other places. Now, you know you're good when you get paid, but you know you're great when you get other people paid. And because of Steph's impact, his whole squad is laughing to the bank. Because just like every team that came before them, the Warriors cannot buy a championship. But that won't stop them from trying.
Pain. Good way to end it. good way to end it. If you like the video, make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe.